So in this chapter, we're going to learn about why and how the world looks different to people with autism. And we're going to see some creative ways to explain that and also learn about the reasons for these differences. So I absolutely love this quote. Living with autism is like seeing the world through a kaleidoscope, trying to listen to a radio station that is jammed with static at the same time. Add to that a broken volume control, which causes the volume to jump erratically from a loud boom to an audible. So you've probably heard of Temple Grandin. The astonishing thing to me about this quote is how she gets herself out of herself to put on neurotypical glasses and explain what her world looks like to the rest of us. And it's a good enough description for me. I don't know about you. Now, if you don't know who Temple Grandin is, but you probably do, she's a globally recognized academic and animal behaviorist. She's an acclaimed author of many books. She's a pioneer in helping foster public understanding of autism. She's a pioneer in the humane treatment of animals at slaughterhouses. She's an activist who has promoted the idea that the world needs all kinds of minds. And I think that's an incredible idea. I love that last one, and we're going to come back to that a few times. The idea that neurodiversity, having all kinds of different brains who work in different ways, is just as important in the world as biodiversity. So trying to see the world through the eyes of somebody with autism spectrum disorder. Here are some of the challenges that people face on a daily basis and why the world looks different. Sensory integration, that is understanding everything with all the senses balanced, can be difficult. Over and under stimulation of the senses are possible. So people with autism simply have bigger challenges with managing the balance between their senses than others do. Understanding nuances and emotional cues is not easy, including humor. Note the contradictions with senses. It can be both over or under. And people with autism can tend to have a very literal understanding of everything that can result in a lot of communication mishaps. So social interaction and communication are a challenge. High sensitivity to texture, noise, or other sensory input are common, and routine and predictability are preferred to surprises. I think that these, to some extent or other, apply to all of us. I suggest you spend a day and focus on being mindful towards the following things, and maybe even write down how many times. Think how often you use sarcasm or other rhetorical techniques that require context and understanding of the nuances of speech. How much of what we say is to be taken figuratively but not literally. What a noisy and busy place the world is. How much do we tune or filter out, and how? What devices do we use to do that? And how many things happen to us in the course of a normal day that we weren't expecting, that we have to pivot and cope with? And what are all the coping mechanisms that we use and deploy without even thinking about them? I bet if you spent 24 hours quantifying that, you'd be really surprised. So I'd like to show you a really striking video, or at least a segment of it. I'm going to talk more about Magda Mostafa and her work later in the talk. She's an academic, architect, and an advocate for autism-friendly design. And this is her video from the 2023 Venice Biennale. It's a representation of how people with ASD experience the world. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed that video and that it gave you maybe a window into the world of somebody with autism spectrum disorder. I'd also like to point out a really great example in popular culture, which if you have Netflix, there's a fantastic series called Extraordinary Attorney Woo. It's a South Korean series. You can see it with subtitles or dubbed. And it shows a brilliant young attorney who is the first in South Korea to have autism as an attorney. And it shows how she perceives the world around her and how she interacts with people. And it's very important to be seen. I think this is why this is a great show, because it shows that we have empathy and understanding for people with autism, and that sometimes their challenges are also their greatest strengths. So what makes her neurodivergent is also what makes her the best lawyer around and incredibly effective with her clients. It builds empathy through storytelling and putting you behind her eyes. It's great learning for designers. You'll notice, if you watch carefully, a lot of little sequences where she finds challenges with things that other people don't even pay any attention to, like, for example, revolving doors are a big challenge for her. Lots of little things in the built environment you can see that she perceives very differently from neurotypical people. So this concludes our chapter about how people with autism perceive their built environment differently. Now we're going to go on to the next chapter about architecture and urban planning to support people with autism spectrum disorder. We're going to look at some design guidelines, some theories, and some really fantastic practices and great designers. See you there.